Hello, guys. This is getting posted today, Wednesday, November 10th. Unfortunately, I have to cancel this week's live study session. I have to attend a funeral for a close friend out of town. I will not be available this week, so I wanted to get this. I'm going to make a video for you guys talking about this week's lesson, addressing the questions that I anticipate you have about this week's lesson. I won't be talking about the final project today because I don't have any examples. Next week we will have another Wednesday night session. Again, I'm sorry, it's unavoidable, but that's just sometimes how life works. We have to say goodbye to people. So what I want to talk about real quick is I'm talking about what you need to know for this week. I'm going to show you some examples, and I'm going to go over the exercises with you. So let's go ahead and start there. So this week we're doing left and right joins, which we've already talked about. I've already shown you left and right joins in the previous weeks. You should be able to get those. We've got the, how, like, with the Venn diagrams, went through all that. So I'm not going to do a deep dive into those right now. Three-way outer joins, that's just, you'll figure that out once you know how the outer joins work. Left, right outer joins. If you do multiple ones, you have to be careful how you order them. What I want to talk about today is, it's not here. There's a command called roll up, because we've already talked about. So when you're doing, let's say when you're doing joins and you're doing anything with aggregate functions, you've got group by and you've got having. Having is the where clause for group by. I'll show you that in a second. And there's something called roll up. We'll talk about that in a second too. Those are for aggregate functions. And then so that's really just what I want to talk about. I want to talk about roll up. I want to talk about having. I want to talk about the exercises and give you some examples. So let's look at the exercises. Let's go to the examples first. So here, where's my, where go? Nope, that's not, there it is. Okay. Okay, so here's just a quick regular choreograph of Sakilla. I'm selecting the title, the amount, and the rental date from film. I'm interjoining inventory. I'm interjoining rental. I'm interjoining payment, and I'm ordering it by rental date. So these are the results that I get. Okay. Blanket Beverly was rented on the 5th of May for $299, so on and so forth. Now, what I'm going to do here is, so this just gives me, the date. Now, if I want to just know titles, what do I want to know? What if I wanted to know how much I've made on Blanket Beverly or Freaky Pocus or whatever, but I want to know how much the total amount I've rented over time is. So I'll go over here. I've got this a little query. I've got selecting title. I'm doing the count of rental date, right? And I'm doing the sum of the amount. Okay, so I'm getting the title, how many times it's rented, and the sum. I'm doing the same inner joins. So if I do this and just run it with the group by, okay, I get this. So Blanket Beverly is rented 12 times, and it's got me $40.88. Freaky Pocus 17 times. Okay, and that's what that does. It just gives me, this, we've talked about this before. I'm doing the count, I'm doing the sum, I've got my group by. Then I've got this little command here called roll up. And what roll up does is, at the bottom of this, I'll have another column that ignores, or another row that ignores the non-aggregate function, but then totals up the two aggregate functions. So let me show you. So here, it looks exactly the same. So I'm ordering it by, we have an order by here, right? So I'm grouping by title. Okay. Academy Dinosaur 23 times, Ace Goldfinger 7 times. Because the group by is here, it's organized by name. But when I go down here to the last row, I've got this. It's been rented. The total amount of movies rented is 16,044, and the total amount of money made from rentals is $67,000. Okay, so that's what roll up does. Roll up gives me a total of this column and of this column, right? Of that column and that column, but it does not include the aggregate function. So over here, I do the same thing. And this time it's on July 6th, 2005. I rented 504 movies, and that was the total amount that I made from them. But here, by the way, I have a difference here. I have this having, okay? The having. That means it's only going to show me anything that's over $1,500. So it's organizing by date, okay? Because the group buys by rental date, and then it's showing me anything that has over that amount, okay? But again, here I still have my same. Now notice that's the same amounts from before. So my roll up is still going to take everything into account. So this is kind of a weird to look at it, but let me take this roll up. So that's there. So having, even though the having is there, it's showing me the results. Only that it's showing me the total from everything, and not just the one that I got here. Okay. Okay. So that's roll up. Roll up is not something we use a lot of. There's other ways to do it, other easier ways to do it. But if you need a fast and dirty way to get the total of 2 aggregate columns or 3 aggregate, however many aggregate columns are, use that roll up command. Okay. And again, having is a where clause on an aggregate function. So I'm doing an aggregate here on the sum of P amount, which is here, and having over $1,500. Okay. So having is an aggregate function. It's a where clause on an aggregate function. And then roll up gives you the totals of all aggregate columns at the end in a separate row and ignores the non-aggregate column. Okay. Okay. So those are the two things I want to talk about that way. So let's go over the exercises real quick here. So the first exercise here is I'm going to show you the exercise, and I'm going to show you some code that will inspire you to do these and get them right. Okay. So the first one is rewrite the following query, which uses a simple case expression. So the same results are achieved using a search case expression. Try to use as few when clauses as possible. Okay. So what this is saying, you want to take this where you got a case statement with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 when clauses, and reduce it into a searched case expression with as few as when clauses as possible. So I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. But so that's the first one here. So let's look at that example of what will help you figure it out. I'll put that right here. So it's this one here. So here I've got a simple query. I'm giving me the name as the name of the language and the count of it from the film table joining the language table on the language ID. And I run that query and tells me English, I have 681 titles, Italian, I have 773 titles, and Japanese, 146 titles. Okay. But, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. I apologize. Let me back up here. So I've got select title and rating, and I've got a case statement. When rating equals R, say not kids, when rating in, and this is a searched case statement. When rating is in GP, 13, then kids, else no one. Okay. So this is my default value. If it doesn't meet any of these criteria, this won't show up. And I'm going to call it audience. Okay. So again, selecting the title, the rating, and then this case statement. If the rating equals R, this is a non-searched case statement, then return not kids. If the rating is in this criteria, this is a searched case statement, then return kids, else return no one. So let's see what the results like this look like. Okay, so here I've got Dinosaur Canopy, G's for kids, Goldfinger for kids, NC-17, no one, a Fair Prejudice, G is for kids, Airport Pollock is rated R, it's not for kids. Okay, so there's that. The next question in here is rewrite the following query so that the result contains a single row with 5 columns, 1 for each rating. Name the 5 columns GP, 13. So here's the query: select rating, count for that. Okay, so that's a fairly simple, straightforward statement. So let me show you my analogous query so you guys can figure out how to do this. So here I've got this one, which you saw before, but you're going to see it again. I'm getting the name of the language, the language, an account of the language ID from the film table, and I'm interjoining it. So here I get 681 English, 173 Italian, and 146 Japanese. Now, what I'm going to do here is a little different. Okay, so I'm only going to bring it from the film table. I'm not doing a join anymore. So here I'm selecting the sum of this case statement. When language ID equals 1, then 1, else 0. So what this is saying, I've got a case statement. If language ID equals 1, which I happen to know is English, then return 1. If it's not 1, then return 0. So that will give me a count of everything that's language ID 1. This will give me language ID 2. This will give me language ID 3. Okay. From the film table, I know that language ID 1 is English, language ID 2 is Italian, language ID 3 is Japanese. So now when I run this, I will get the same results that I got in the other one. So let me run these both together so you can see them together. Okay. So here, English is 681. Here, English is 681. Here, Italian is 173. Here, Italian is 173. Okay. There's two ways to get the same information the same way. This is just code for coding's sake. So, hey, look what I can do. You never actually want to do this because you don't want to have to go in and find out what the language ID is. It's hard coding a lot of stuff. It's not the best way to do things. So it's just a look at the coding trick. Okay. So now when you look back at this one here, you should be able to figure out how to get this information the way they're asking for it. The last two here all go off the same query, and I'm going to show you how to write the initial query. So I'm going to give you the answer to question number 3. Okay. And then you have to do question 4 and 5 on your own because you're just modifying the question 3. So let's see. Write a query that returns the alphabetized first letter of the customer's last name and the count of active and inactive customers. Limit the results only to those first letters that occur in the last name column of the customer's table. Label the columns as follows: starts with, active count, and active count. So I didn't necessarily call that. So let me change this over here. Okay, so, and this is the results that you want. Now, let me preface this with, if you don't get these exact counts, don't worry about it, because I know I play with my numbers, I think, so don't worry about it if the numbers don't come out, just as long as it looks generally like this, okay? So let's look at the query that I wrote here. Okay, so this is that. Just change these to That's what I did here. Select substring, last name 11. So just give me the first letter. Then I've got the sum, and here's that case name we just saw up here. Case when active equals 1, then 1 else 0, call it active count. Some case when active equals 0, then 1 else 0, end. From customer, group by last name, order by last name. Since I've got sums here, these are aggregate functions, and I've got a non-aggregate function here, I need to do this. So when I order this, so I run this, so that is my fault. So I meant to show you this here. When you're doing group buys and order buys, if you aliased out the column here, you can use the alias name down here. That's why it failed, because I changed the name of the alias. So because I have the alias called starts with, I don't have to add substring. I don't have to add this here. I can just add the starts with here. Okay. So I took this and I put this here instead. Right. That's how you would normally see it, but you can use it with the alias. If I run this now, it will work. Okay, there we are. So A is 19.1, B is 55.0, C is 49.3. I don't know if my numbers match up. How my numbers match up? Yeah, my A's don't work out right, which is fine. That's not a big deal. Okay. So this is the query that you want to use for that first part. So there you go. It's kind of tricky to write, so I wrote it for you, and I think that's okay. So now what you need to do is, for the next two, you got to modify this a little bit, and let's talk about what you have to do. Okay. Question 4, write a query that returns the alphabetized letter of the customer's last name and a count of active and inactive customers. Do not limit the results to only the first letters found in the last name column of the customers table, but return results that include any missing letters from the data set. Hint, you will need a fabricated table composed of 26 letters of the alphabet and use an outer join to resolve this problem, okay? So you're gonna take the code that I just showed you, add an outer join to it, to a table you create. It's gonna be, and make sure that you do it in such a way that the values in the fabricated table take precedence over the values that are coming out of the existing table. So when you look back at this query here, you're coming out of the customers table. So the customer table is going to be second. It is not, you want the table with the letters to take precedence over the customer table. Okay. So that would be if you with your inner join, wherever if you did the so here we'll just kind of show you here. So remember, the table on top is the left, the table on bottom is the right. So if I did here, right join new table is what I'd have to do, and then you can figure the rest out from there. So you've got to create a table with the letters of the alphabet in it, and then do a right join, and then get that information. Okay. Okay. And then the last one, write a query that returns the alphabetized first letter of the customer's name, blah, 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 same thing, where active customer is greater than 30. So all you're going to do is go back to this query here from number 3 and put a having clause in there, and you're done. Okay. So that's the exercises there. That's the code I wanted to show you. I will, of course, put the code. I will not put the answer to question number 3 in the notes that I'm going to give you from this, the code that I just put in here. I'm just going to put the other stuff in there. Put this out. So close this up. Okay. So I'll put all this stuff in the notes when I post this video in a little bit. I will be posting it tonight. Keep doing what you're doing. Everyone's doing great work. Please remember, we are in week 9, and I will not accept late work past week 12. Okay, so we got 3.5 more weeks to catch up. If you're behind, everyone's pretty much catch up, but some people are a little behind yet. So you've got 3.5 weeks to get caught up with late work. If you're doing your project, please keep in touch with me. If you're doing the final project, so I know what's going on, I can answer any questions. So far, everyone's doing the project, is doing a great job. I'm really enjoying talking to you guys about the projects you're doing and the tables. A lot of you are really getting a good, everyone who's doing a project has really got a great handle on how ERDs are created. I will be back next week, and I will be online this week. You can text me or email me or contact me either way. I just will not be online tomorrow night for the normal Wednesday night group. Other than that, have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys later.